Welcome to the Sporty Sibling Podcast,
where we score touchdowns and make bets.
To Trier. Trier drives down and throws it down. Oh, Alonzo Trier.
Today they're gonna match off and talk about
back, everybody. We're gonna have some very interesting shows coming in because what happened yesterday? The World Cup started. Woo! So much going on, so much. But before we start talking about everything, let's start with the beginning. Trash listening, of course. We're gonna talk about the opening ceremony of the World Cup. I personally thought it was actually pretty cool, pretty nice. Morgan Freeman was part of it. No, everybody reacted very positively on social media for the opening ceremony. Apparently somebody put on Twitter that fireworks are up. The opening ceremonies are done. The Ecuador fans can now sing again. So, to each their own, I guess. And I don't know. How did you feel about it, Eunice?
I think it was great. Obviously, Morgan Freeman is, I think, someone that's actually well-liked. His voice is iconic, I feel like, for a lot of big movie shows. And obviously, him himself is famous. And, I will say, the FIFA World Cup event gives a lot, it already has a lot of a lot of hype behind it. But when I found out that BTS's Jungkook was going to be performing, I think that did actually add an extra hype because BTS is by far the biggest K-pop group in all of the K-pop industry, and they have probably one of the biggest fandoms over all of music industry. They the ARMY, which is the name of the BTS fandom, which I am a part of. I'd say that this fandom, the ARMY fandom, ranges the same as Swifties, which are obviously Taylor Swift's fans. Which, yeah, you're a Swiftie. I think it is
my truth, okay.
They are one of the biggest fandoms, and obviously with the news of BTS going to be going to the ARMY soon by age. Jungkook is the maknae of the group, which is in Korea means the youngest of the group. Him being the youngest, he is actually, I think for me, I'd like to say he's probably the most popular of the group. So definitely that brought a lot of extra hype to it, because a lot of them are kind of, as right now, they're going to slowly be going to the ARMY for doing their military service for Korea. He is probably the last one that's going to be going on, which means he's the one that we're going to probably get the most solo work of. I know he already did a few months ago. He did a collaboration with Charlie Puth. That one you've been hearing on the radio a lot, But I can't sing, but it's called Left and Right.
Oh, that was with him?
Yeah. Memories from me left and right.
But
yeah, that was Jungkook and Charlie Puth.
Yeah, I also like there's always a mascot for the World Cup. And, they're usually these cute little animals, for example, in 2010 in South Africa, they had a little lion. And I don't know how do you say this. It's a ghost, I guess. Leb or something I'm sorry, I apologize if I say it wrong. But I think he's pretty adorable, and I think he's pretty nice. I think he's wonderful. And I just think overall, the performance from Mr. Cook and the Morgan Freeman being brought in, fireworks, and just everything that happened in the ceremony was perfect. And it kind of all summed up into the beginning when they actually brought out the World Cup trophy and they lifted it up. Former France defender Marcel Desailly was the one that paraded the World Cup trophy for the defending champs. Usually the defending champs or somebody from the defending champs or from the team parades it around, at the beginning. But if you look at it and you see it, it kind of brought the world together. And with the Morgan Freeman part of it, and when he was doing with the guy that had no legs, I feel like that took a change, and it truly showed that this World Cup is completely different, 100% different than the World Cups we were accustomed to. And it's something that the world needs. I mean, Qatar has so many bad things about it right now. From human rights violations to questionable about winning their bid. This World Cup is now bringing everybody together, and I think they started off very well, and they did it very well.
No, yeah, they did.
So perfect. Next part, I think you can all guess what we're going to talk about next, but Panda, please let us know. Yes, like Panda stated, we're going to talk about Ecuador's dominance against Qatar in the first match of the World Cup.
Yep.
Eunice, I'm going to go ahead and let you start this one off.
Okay, well, I will start off by saying, unfortunately, I was not able to catch the game. The Wi-Fi here at SMU was kind of going in and out, and I'll be honest, whenever I kept trying to watch it, after like 2 minutes, it would pause and do that little buffering thing, and I'd just be like, great. And then all of a sudden, it'd do that fast little pace thing where it's like, oh, all of a sudden, everything happened in like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So just saying that, I'm pretty sure Hersa was probably able to watch it better than me. But unfortunately, that's just how it is. But honestly, Ecuador just came to play. They did not waste a single second and just showing complete dominance over Qatar. They obviously won 2-0. They had up to 6 shots. 3 of them going towards the 3 of them making the goal. It said that they made 3 goals, like 3 shots on the goal, but apparently they won by 2-0. So I assume one of them was taken back.
Yeah, I'll talk about that.
Yeah, okay, because I didn't catch that part in the game. Like I said, issues, but I figure you may be able to touch up on it better, Hersa. But I from what I can see, they adjusted their formation. They to score the 2 goals that they did, they used a 4-by-3-by-3 formation. And then they did a 4-by-4-by-2 2-striker formation later on. What was it called? And it was saying that Qatar was probably more ready for them to do the 4-by-3-by-3 formation. So when they changed the formation to only have a 2-striker formation, that's what kind of threw them off a bit. And what's it called? And obviously Qatar just couldn't do it. And I mean, I think it also what played also a big part was Ener Valencia, which is probably Ecuador's biggest or best player. I mean, I'm not saying he carried the team because obviously it's a team effort, but man, he came to Qatar and he said, "Listen, I'm better than all of you. Let me show you why."
Yeah. So. I mean, first and foremost, I'm going to throw this out there, and you know what? Qatar, you can come for me. All right? Number one, I disagreed wholeheartedly with Qatar getting the bid. I sincerely believe they cheated to get there because there's no way they beat out the United States. We have the infrastructure. We have we have everything. We don't need to build anything. In fact, I'm sure the FIFA committee will tell us to tone down things, to get there. We have multiple MLS, NBA, NFL stadiums, NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB stadiums that can easily fit and work for any.
And we literally have over like 100, I feel like, because you have to count the NFL. Obviously, a football stadium is big enough to fit soccer field. We have what, 32 of those? Well, more like 30, because I know like Los Angeles Rams and Chargers.
Exactly, yeah.
But it's like still, we have pretty much 30 of them, and that's in all the major cities. We have Dallas, Houston, LA, Seattle, New York. All of them.
And half of those cities have MLS teams, so we're equipped to be able.
Dallas has Dallas FC, so we have I know we have a big soccer field too for our soccer field. Then you got NBA teams, which that's again like another 30, 40, and
30 teams or so.
Yeah, 30, right? You have another 30, which some of them are in the same areas as the NFL teams, but others are in completely different ones. Then you got NHL, again, several stadiums, some of them in the same major cities, again, others in random, like you have everywhere.
Exactly, and that's what I'm trying to say is that
we have indoor and outdoor.
Exactly. So that's why I firmly believe that Qatar cheated to get into this bid, like plain and simple. And so I don't believe Qatar deserved it. Now, with that being said, you add on to the human rights violations that they have, the rules that they put on everything from LGBTQ all the way down to married. And for example, me and Eunice, we're siblings, right?
Mm-hmm.
If Eunice decided to go to a game by herself, she could be arrested because she's a woman walking by herself. She couldn't go. For example, if I had tickets to see Mexico play France, and she had tickets to go watch America play Netherlands, we would have to choose where we're going to go. And that's not right. I mean, she should be able to watch the match she wants, and so would I. And then the one that really ticked me off was, why can't we drink?
How dare you keep alcohol from people that are over 21? We earned the right. We went 21 years without alcohol.
Or if you're in Europe, 18.
Either ways, we went at least over a decade without alcohol.
Exactly, and part of the games is drinking. It's having fun with it.
It loosens us up too. I think if anything, alcohol helps because sometimes it goes the opposite way, but for the most part, this is still competition. So people sometimes come into the game and there's obviously those people. I'm a very competitive person. I love to win, but I have learned that competition doesn't mean you get to be rude to people, doesn't mean you can disrespect people from the other team. I know that, but obviously, that's not the same case for everyone. Sometimes people come to watch these games and they're very tense. They're very competitive. They kind of are a bit on the edge when it comes to being around fans of the other team. And I think alcohol does help to loosen that up.
Exactly. But the best thing is that alcohol brings us together as one. Okay, so hey, we're gonna enjoy talking and talking shit to each other over a pint of beer. Okay, it's how we celebrate, it's how we connect, and they're taking that away from us. So the fact that Ecuador literally beat the snot out of Qatar, mind you, I've watched the whole first half of the game. Okay, and the whole first half of the game was literally Ecuador just dominating Qatar, literally, and Air Valencia, which you just talked about, was just dominant in every aspect. And to your credit, he said he had 3 shots on goal and 2 actually went in, was because they have new technology to see who's offsides, if you're offsides. And unfortunately, in the first goal that he scored, it was called back because he was offsides.
Okay.
So and even the announcers were like, well, thank God for this technology. I mean, I like it, I understand it, but it's really weird. I have to get used to it, which is fine. That's okay.
It's the same as any sport. If there's a violation, tennis has something similar because obviously when we're serving or when you're just hitting the ball goes like at several miles, sometimes over with the top players, they go over like 100 miles per hour. It's kind of, and especially it being a small ball, you don't always realize when it hits out. So tennis has a technology where they can see if a ball goes out or not. Now, however, that's usually only used whenever someone wants to challenge, but still. I understand the technology because it's literally
exactly, and it's utilized here now to better, be able to call fair games. It was a little annoying, but I get it. But now with this lose, it's the first opening game defeat for a host nation in tournament's history. So going back to the 1910s, a host country has never lost the opening match.
Wow.
And Qatar did it. Qatar set that record. Great. That made me even happier. And mind you, Ecuador's players were not giving in. No, they kept shooting. They kept working at it. They were never happy. I mean, now I do wish they kind of lessen on the yellow cards. They had 2 yellow cards and 15 fouls. So I think they need to bring that down because that could affect them later.
Mm-hmm.
No, I believe if I recall correctly, I think Eunice actually had 2 yellow cards. And if that was it, he needs to be really careful because that could really affect him later on. And again, as people know, if you get too many, you get a red card, which then that means you could be suspended for the next game, and that could be
how much do you want to bet that he was very like us, he was very angry with Qatar and all their rules, and so that anger took over when he was playing?
I mean, I think so too. I mean, some of those yellow cards, I do agree. Like, for example, one on Moises Caicedo. I thought that was kind of BS. I didn't like it. And even one on Karim Boudafi from Qatar. I thought it was like, there was a gray line, and I think they kind of went too far to the left on it or too much to the right. So some of those I disagree with, but I get it. I get it, and it is what it is in the grand scheme of the World Cup. So, no, statistical wise too, they had 6 shots and 3 were on goal, which that is great. Mm-hmm. Now, can they increase that? Yes. On Qatar's side, they shot 5 times. None of them were on goal. And come on, like, how do you do that? Like, you beat Albania 1-0, Panama 2-1, Honduras 1-0, Guatemala 2-0, Nicaragua 2-1. Okay, let's be serious. All those teams face South American teams that are arguably in the top 10 every year of the World Cup.
Yes.
And you beat them. Of course you're going to beat them because they get beat up all the time. But then you look at Ecuador, who actually played decent teams in the Southeast Asia, like Iraq, Japan, Saudi Arabia, Cape Verde Islands, Mexico. They actually gave them a fight. They drew most of them except for their match with Cape Verde Islands. But they showed, they showed what they're going to do. The real thing that makes it more interesting, too, is that Qatar leads the match with Ecuador 4-3. So out of all the friendlies they've had, Qatar's won most of them. But they came back this time around and said, heck no, because this was a dominant Ecuador game. Ecuador dominated game. They told Qatar, bend over, take it like Daddy says, because that's what they did. And had that third goal not be called back, Eunice would have had a hat trick. Yeah, a hat trick. And I'm telling you this now, Eunice, that man is gonna have a hat trick against one of these other teams in his group sooner rather than later. Sooner rather than later. I foresee it coming. I think it's gonna be very interesting to say and to do. And I'm just tired of it. The only other one that I do think that I'm a little worried about Ecuador in our last few minutes here is the saves. No, they never once tested the goalie. So we don't know how good really the Ecuadorian goalie is.
Yeah.
The goalie for Qatar was tested a lot, was actually tested 3 times, even during the penalty kick to get that first goal. And in reality, like, he was not good. Let's just say, put it that way. Okay?
Mhm.
He was not good.
But
He
that's
did
why
have,
we also said that Qatar was going to be eliminated after the group stage.
and I think that's gonna turn out to be right.
Mhm.
Perfect. There's the clock. All right. Coolio. Last thing that we're going to talk about. Yes, it's more of a shorter show this week, guys, but it's because we have a lot coming up. And yeah, you know, it's what we do. But,
And it is.
everyone is saying, the kickoff to Qatar plus the opening ceremony has made it clear that the World Cup is like no other.
Mhm.
What do you expect moving forward based on what you have seen so far?
Well, in terms of how things are going to be upheld in Qatar, I actually I do have high standards for them because from their opening ceremony, it definitely seemed like obviously they were putting their own twist on it because that's how it is for every World Cup. The hosting country puts their own twist into it, their own I don't know, special. I don't know. I don't know an exact word to describe it. They put their own special, unique taste into it. And obvious, but what I liked about it that we didn't talk about it with the opening ceremony, but they paid homage to all the previous World Cup. They did for the mascots. They had all the previous mascots, World Cup mascots there as well, along with their lib. Hopefully, I'm also pronouncing that right. But they also did a remix of all the World Cup anthems previously. And, it can't, for me, it's just for them, for me, it told me that they were telling me, hey, all the previous World Cups have been great. Here's why. Like, look, they were all great. Now here's ours. We're going to make sure to keep this World Cup being amazing, like how it's always been. So in terms of that, I have high hopes. In terms of the games, I'm maybe a slightly little worried because don't get me wrong, I expected Ecuador to win, but I didn't expect this kind of demolishing. So now I'm a bit like, oh, like, is it going to be until like group 16 or, the quarterfinals that we're actually going to get really good games? Like, are all the teams like I expected Qatar to lose the group stage, but I expected a more of a fight, in my opinion. So it's like, now I'm like a little worried. Like I'm not worried that we're not going to have good games. I know we will eventually have good games because the best teams. I mean, there's no way they're not going to have a good game when you have like Netherlands versus Brazil if that were to happen. Stuff like that. But I'm just a bit slightly worried. Not obviously, I know the group stage is going to be a bit boring compared to the other stages in the tournament. But now I'm just like, oh, is it going to be like this for a lot of them, where it's like, the two clear teams are going to win, and it's always going to be a demolishing of the teams that we are pretty sure will lose. So that's the only thing for me. But it's not something that I will be particularly surprised about. It's just more so like it's gonna just I'm a little worried that the group stage is gonna be a little bit more boring.
Yeah. So as I'm reading more and more about the World Cup, uh, Sam Borden, ESPN senior writer, I think really took the words right out of my mouth, and really, really put out what makes this World Cup different. And I'm gonna read what he stated. He said, "The World Cup makes for a dizzying juxtaposition, a confusing mix of that which feels discomforting with that which might reasonably be termed progress. What is right to feel as it plays out over the next month? What is the takeaway? There is no correct answer. And Sunday's opener served to remind that there is only one thing certain. This World Cup will be different than anything seen before." I think that right there, that is amazingly well put for this World Cup.
Mhm.
Number one, Qatar came into this World Cup already, questionable. Okay. The cup, everything was moved already. People were getting hurt that we talked about last time. And it was just what is going on. So we felt that the difference, that the change. And again, maybe this was in the beginning that Qatar wanted. And I mean, even all the money that Qatar has still couldn't buy their fans, because literally after halftime, half of the Qatar fan base was gone.
I mean, I feel like for them, it's like there was reason to. I mean, obviously, we covered, you said in the beginning, it's like Qatar, people in Qatar are very angry with the rules that they're implementing. And then if you're not going to win, well, then why are we staying? I mean, like, I know it would never happen in the USA, but like if the rules that they placed in Qatar happened here in the USA, and then we went to the opening ceremony, I mean, the opening game, the first match, and USA was clearly losing at halftime, I'd get out there. I said, no, screw this. I'm going to go home. I'm going to do what I want to do, because obviously, like you said, one of the rules is that I can't go on my own or else I'll get arrested. So I'm going to go do what I want to do. And if I want to get drunk, I'm going to get drunk.
Exactly. And I think at the end of the day, it comes down to they're making this a world. I mean, we all needed this World Cup, because with COVID, people finally opening up, we need something to unite the world. And what best than the one thing that unites the whole world every 4 years? Because it doesn't matter whether you're a Brazilian fan, whether you're an England fan, whether you're a fan from, if you're a Champions League fan and you only like Manchester United, but you're sitting next to somebody who likes Manchester City or Juventus or whatever, at that point, everyone's English or American or Mexican or Ecuadorian or whatever. At that point, it doesn't matter who your club team is. You're a nation and you bring it in. And maybe like Benson said, like it said in the article, it's a confusing mix of that which is discomforting and that which is reasonably to be termed progress. We see that we're moving forward in our connections and of what we see fit. But at the same time, too, we're seeing that, I kind of feel uncomfortable being here because of everything that's happening. Mm-hmm. And I think the match between Ecuador and Qatar really showed that, because Qatar felt uncomfortable the whole game. They couldn't do anything proper. But again, turn progress comes with Ecuador just saying hell with it, bam, kicking it and making it through every single time. I mean, 6 shots on the goal, and 3 of them were actually, 6 shots done, but 3 on goal. I mean, that's pretty amazing for a team that, let's be serious, Ecuador is no powerhouse. It's not somebody that we expect to be dominant. And they came in here saying, you know what, we are going to be dominant. Which is exactly what we wanted to see. So again, that which feels discomforting and which might be reasonable by be termed progress is something that makes this World Cup different. Mm-hmm. I don't think we're gonna, moving forward as well, I don't think we'll see that this World Cup is, that future World Cups are going to be any different. I think they're gonna always signify something. But Qatar kind of started that. Maybe that's not the best thing. But I also will add with our last minutes that I disagree with you, Eunice. I think the group stage is going to blow us away in a way that we have never seen it before. Mind you, the World Cup has been going on since, what did I say, 1930.
1930.
It was founded in 1930. So, 92 years?
Oh, you're asking me, 92 years.
So 92 years. So in 92 years, no host country has lost the opening match. Mm-hmm. bam, Qatar's the first one. That set a tone to what we are to expect. And I think that we're going to see a lot of first in this country. I think we're going to see some big countries lose, maybe not make it out of the group stage, or countries that we think we're going to win, we're going to lose, make it out of the group stage. And I think we need to prepare ourselves for some huge upsets. Huge upsets. Yeah?
Yeah.
Perfect. We beat the clock as always, which is always a fun thing to do. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Please be aware that we will be posting a lot more during the World Cup. As you can see, today came a little earlier than normal. Why? Because there's so much going on, people. All right? And Eunice?
Just make sure to follow us on all social media platforms, including RYM Network, to make sure you catch up on all the news we plan to put out. And if you haven't gotten any Christmas shopping done, you should check out our merch on the RYM Network page.
Exactly. Also, my birthday's coming up, so, if anyone wants to buy me some stuff.
Nobody cares.
I'm a Christmas baby, so everybody, please.
Nobody cares.
Everybody cares because everybody loves me.
Nobody loves you.
Everybody loves me.
No,
But
it's
thank you
okay,
so much
dog.
for listening, guys. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you here in a little bit. And again, remember, World Cup's here. Get excited. Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.